What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked In Sports Podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me today is Mr. Luis Barranco. Luis, how you doing?
I'm thankful to be back here on the podcast. I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to Mr. Locke for allowing me to return for a third season of the MLB podcast edition. I was just thinking, we are in season 3, man. How's that going?
Season. So I thought we started maybe mid-season 2021. I think we were like, hey, we should start doing baseball in 2021. And then we did some baseball pods then, and then I did the Yankee pods weekly in 2021. And then 2022, I think, you're right, was our first full season. So I think you're right. This is our third full season of covering MLB on the pod.
That's freaking crazy to think about. In 2021, if you go think about it, our World Series champion was the Atlanta Braves.
Yes, they were.
That was a crazy.
2022 was the Astros. 2023 was the Rangers.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about it. We were talking about it the other day, baseball related. I'm getting that itch. Actually, the funny thing is, and we'll have this to talk about for the next pod. Might as well just start the pod off with this, like sort of like an interlude. I know Chicago's cold. We don't need to talk about the weather. It's cold. We had a tornado warning here in Miami right over my apartment this morning, which was pretty nutty. Other than that, it's been right. But I'm getting that itch. Spring training opens tomorrow. Did you know that?
Really? Pitchers and catchers? Is it the Dodgers pitchers and catchers?
Dodgers report tomorrow. That's why they're doing the whole Mookie. They're doing like the whole fanfare because they open up tomorrow because they start like a whole week before the rest of them will be because they're going to Korea or Japan?
Korea. I think it's like March 20th. Yeah, their opening day is way before everybody else this year.
Yeah, so they're doing that, but the Caribbean, like the Winter League baseball, is actually ending. I'm actually going tonight at 8:30. I'm going to a Caribbean World Series game
tonight.
Yeah, I told you.
I know you said you were going, but I didn't know it was tonight. I thought it was
it's a triple header. It's a triple header. So pretty much, so for the listeners that don't know how the Caribbean World Series works, it's pretty much, if you're into soccer, it's pretty much like the Champions League for baseball of the Caribbean. So Mexico's champion, Dominican Republic's champion, Curaçao's champion, Puerto Rico's champion, Venezuela's champion. Like, it's 8 nations that have champions go and compete for a week here in Miami. Well, it's in Miami this year, and they go and compete to see who is the best team in Latin America, Caribbean. So right now, tonight, I think today's the last night of the group stage, I believe. What's up?
Who are you going to see play tonight?
I'm actually going seeing one of the right now, to get it correct, the participating teams are Panama, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Honduras, and Curaçao. There's a lot of MLB talent and a lot of ex-MLB talent coming up. So tonight I get to see Mexico's team, the Mexican champ, versus the Dominican Republic champ. And Dominican Republic is just loaded with talent. Like, it is just absolutely like crazy how many like guys go play in the Dominican for the Winter Leagues. Like, right, not a lot of them left because they have to go back and start reporting. They go to Florida getting their spring training ready. But the team that's playing for the Dominican is the Tigres del Licey. That's like the equivalent of the Yankees of Dominican Republic. They pretty much just win every year. They have the little L blue. It's like Dodger blue and Yankee white with the L and cursive. They're pretty good. A lot of ex-MLB talent is there. For example, Puerto Rico, the team representing is from Caguas, which is north side of the island. Yadier Molina is the manager, so he's starting off his managing career. Venezuela is the Tiburones de Guiara, which is the Sharks of the city Guiara, and Ozzie Guillen for White Sox enthusiasts is managing. And like I said, a lot of talent. They're playing all the way till the 7th, and then they start a knockout stage. So currently, Panama is in first place. They have their 8 run differential. If it would end today, Panama, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico would be qualifying for the semifinals this weekend.
So that'll be fun. You get to see some live baseball in February. What time does the game start?
8:30. I mean, but the thing, it's 8:30, but with the caveat that like there's a bunch of games today, so it's like back to back to back. So it'll probably start a little bit later because Puerto Rico is playing Venezuela, which should be a barn burner. Puerto Rico actually, they played last night. I was watching the game. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic actually beat Puerto Rico 5-2. Puerto Rico before that was undefeated. So I mean, it's good baseball. For example, the current roster right now. But let me give you some names who's playing because
I was looking. There weren't a ton. I saw Jorge Bonifacio playing for the Dominican team, or that was no, that's not updated. 2024 Caribbean Series, Dominican Republic roster. Here we go.
We need 2024, man. We need to see these 2024 rosters.
So this is the Dominican Republic. They have Fernando Abad. He's played.
Yeah, he's
Jorge Alfaro. Okay. Vidal Brujan. Robinson Cano still playing ball out there. Emilio Bonifacio. And yeah, those are kind of the main names.
Oh, you're gonna love it. Wait. Listen to the Venezuela team.
Okay.
You know a lot of these guys. Willie Tovar.
Okay.
You know him?
Yeah.
Who he play for? Come on.
Who does he play for now?
Yes, come on. It's easy.
Dead
franchise out in the middle of nowhere.
I don't know. Mets?
No, they're not in the middle of nowhere. The Rockies.
Oh.
They got Yasiel Puig.
Yeah, that's right. I saw him on
Odubel Herrera. Then they got then Puerto Rico has Nelson Velasquez, aka he was a Cubs outfielder. Henry Ramos. There's some talent on these teams. That's what I'm saying. It's like the rosters aren't bad. Last night, I'm trying to see who the Dominican, because the Dominican roster is like stacked. Of course, it's going to be stacked. So Dominican has Emilio Bonifacio, Robinson Cano.
I just read you the Dominican roster.
Did you say Robinson Cano, or did you?
Yeah, I did. Still playing. Just said that. All right, let's get in. Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm jealous you get to watch live baseball in February in Miami. We don't have that luxury here.
I'll take some pictures and send it to you.
Thank you. I'm sure it'll be hopping more than the Marlins games as Luis leaves. But today's pod / live stream is going to be the Wheel of Baseball. So, instead of going through the rundown like we normally do, we have a wheel that we've created, and basically we're going to spin it, and it's going to land on a topic that we have prepared for today, and we'll discuss. There's been a lot that's been going on recently. Some really interesting news this week. Some interesting comments from various players. Couple trades, couple ownership moves, managerial moves, and we're going to talk about all of it here on the podcast today, the stream today. So without further ado, you want to get it going, Luis? I have the wheel here on my computer.
Go forth, spin that wheel like Vanna. I was going to say Vanna White, but Vanna White just taps the buttons.
Yeah, she just taps them. Okay.
So what type of vibe are we going for? We're going Wheel of Fortune vibes, or we're going what should we call it? Bob Barker vibes. Price is Right when you're spinning it to get close to the dollar.
Bob Barker, Price is Right, more like that.
Not the Drew Carey version. Drew Carey version is sort of mid. I love Drew Carey, but it's not Bob Barker. That man hit different. Pause.
Not the same. Yeah. So the first topic we have, and this is probably the biggest story of the week. I don't know if you could hear the wheel spinning, but it was spinning. I don't know if it picked up.
I don't know if
it picked up on the audio.
I don't know. You might be doing some Bandulu wheels. I don't know. Some of these I don't know how to trust it. What if you're just setting me up for some answer to get canceled, like Shane Gillis back in a couple of years ago?
No, I did spin it, and the first topic is the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles were the most active team this past week, where both because they had an ownership change, very surprising ownership change, and they made a huge trade like the day after they made said ownership change. So the Orioles, they officially announced the sale of the franchise on Wednesday for $1.7 billion to a group led by David Rubenstein, who is a Baltimore native. He founded a private equity firm called the Carlyle Group. The conditions of the deal include that the Rubenstein Group will initially purchase about 40% of the club, and then the group will then have the option to gain full control when Peter Angelos, the current owner, when he passes away, and he's 94 years old. So that kind of he's older. So when he passes away, the Rubenstein Group will get 100% control of the Orioles. The deal includes Masson, which is the TV network that they broadcast all of their games on. That comes with, or that they broadcast that, they share that with the Nationals, and a lot of people expect Rubenstein and his group to sell that network to Ted Leonosis, who owns Capitals,
Yeah.
Wizards, and Mystics in Washington. So very surprising news out of Baltimore. I believe this happened on Wednesday. Peter Angelos, the Angelos family, did some good in Baltimore, specifically building Camden Yards, but not necessarily beloved in Baltimore, to say the least. And I think if you're an Orioles fan, you got to be hyped about this new ownership group.
Hey man, I'm just gonna keep it real. Like, how much would I wish that I hit on, like, and sorry I'm getting a little off topic. I hit on freaking GameStop or AMC and have 1.7 billion to buy some ownership stake in the Orioles, because like, think about it. When teams go up for sale, there's usually some sort of like overlying issue why they're going for sale. If it's either funding, such as a funding issue, a stadium issue, or like there's so many issues on why teams goes up for sale. Let's look at the sales, the most recent sales. Oakland Athletics, the Oakland A's, why? Because they didn't have funding for a stadium, so they ended up selling a percentage for that to go to Vegas, and that's still up in the air, but that's a reason why they sold shares. What other teams got sold recently? Oh, let's think about it. The Chicago Cubs. There was some sort of, and you can speak more about this, but there was some ownership issues when they got sold, and look how much more funding they got and created Wrigley. Mm-hmm. What other sales? Let's go think about it. Texas got bought. They got a new stadium. So it's very rare that you see a contending ball club, and this could be a future podcast we can talk about, a contending ball club which, one, has a very very competitive roster, very, very competitive roster right now. That's even before the trade we're going to talk about later. Two, has the best farm system right now. It's for the first time, I think it's the first time ever, or for the first time, and I don't know, God knows when, that the Baltimore Orioles, the farm system has the number one rated overall prospect in America. Jackson Holliday, Adley Rushman, and I can't remember the third one.
Colton Cowser, Jared Mayo.
No, but before that, it was Rushman. It's Holliday, Rushman, and I think it was Gunnar. That's who it was, Henderson. Mm-hmm. So 3 years in a row. They have a productive roster, they have stability, and they went up for sale. So, I mean, you got to be excited. I feel like they've shown that they're going to open up the wallet. So, hey, I mean, if I'm an Orioles fan, I am so happy. I don't have to drink and be crazy about losing the Ravens, because of the Ravens loss. So this is kind of a good, medication to get through the baseball season. Because now I don't want to. You just want to rip the Band-Aid off now.
Well, can we just talk about how the $1.7 billion valuation for the Orioles was a little bit lower than industry experts expected? It was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people around the league to see them go for so cheap. And that kind of raised the question, okay, why would the managing partner, John Angelos, why would he sell the team now? And there were a few reasons that Ken Rosenthal listed in his article in The Athletic. One, you hit on the final terms of the Orioles' new stadium lease in Camden Yards. Camden Yards. That's their stadium. The O's, they reached an agreement with the state of Maryland on a new long-term lease for Camden Yards just over 6 weeks ago. That includes $600 million in public funds for ballpark upgrades and potential development rights around the ballpark itself. And Angelos, the managing partner, he wanted to develop the area around the stadium, similar to kind of how the Battery in Atlanta did it around Braves Park, similar to how the Cubs did it around Wrigley. And he did not get those rights to develop around the stadium. The main issue being the land around Camden Yards is not, doesn't exist to do something like that.
There's not much because have you been up there?
Yeah, I've been to Camden Yards.
Yeah, so I haven't been to Camden Yards, but as they were to the outside when I did summer camp in Baltimore back in 2015 or 2014, the summer of 2015, 2014. And the thing about it is like, if you think about it, it has great public transport, but right next door you have the Hilton. And then next door to the stadium on the other side, you have M&T Bank. So it's going to be really hard for you just to like rip away all that parking away from M&T Bank. Mm-hmm. And the other point I was going to make, it's like, you got to think about it. Baltimore's a tough market to sell. Like, yeah, it has good fans, but like, think about like, you're going into territory with DC sports. You also have Philly right across. So it's a really like tough marketing like area. It's not like, for example, Chicago, where Chicago, if there's no team in Milwaukee, you own all of Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. You own a bunch of states.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like Braves country, too. Braves country is another perfect example. Atlanta, you dominate pretty much the southeast corridor all the way down to Tampa and all the way up to St. Louis.
Same with the Cardinals. They have their territory in Missouri. So yeah, the stadium was part of an issue. He didn't get those rights to develop the area around it. Cash flow issues. So there's a bill. There's been a long dispute with Masson, and they've been having to pay the Nationals money. In the bill for the Orioles in their years-long dispute with the Nats over the TV rights, that's coming soon. It's going to be a lot of money, like $100 million plus that they have to pay. And the Angelos family wanted to become more liquid, obviously, to help fund said payment. And
who doesn't want to become more liquid these days?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want $1.7 billion?
And who doesn't want cash these days? With how our markets are going, I don't want to go off deviate, but with how our finance and everything, who doesn't want to have just $100, $200 laying around in the corner? Boom, smash the freaking wall and pull out the money type of vibes, like from Fast and Furious. You remember that? Where he comes with the jackhammer and just boom, smash the hammer and pull the money. Who doesn't want more liquid money?
I'm not a Fast and Furious guy. I think I've seen like one, maybe.
Which one?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not a Fast and Furious guy. There's too many of them.
There's 10.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's a Cat Williams debate. So
that's ridiculous. Yeah. So anyway, they actually sold off they own like a building downtown. They sold that as well. And then they sold the team. And then there's also various family issues that, led to the sale as well. So just to compare, like the Marlins, they went for $1.2 billion in 2017 and the Royals went for $1 billion in 2019. So 1.7, like 5 years later, kind of an interesting sale. I feel like they could have gotten more, but the Angelos family kind of just wanted the cash and they took it now. They did buy the team in 1993 for $173 million. So they made quite the profit on the Orioles. Obviously, the valuation of these sports teams over the past 20 years has just skyrocketed across all leagues. So yeah, good news if you're an Orioles fan. Team is sold to the Rubenstein Group, and be very curious to see what they do with the team, considering they have so much talent, so much young talent on the roster right now. And the Angelos family, they said, I think it was last offseason, that they don't know how they're going to be able to pay all of these young guys, and they probably won't. Well,
you know how you do it?
How do you do it?
You pick up the phone, you call up Alex Anthropoulos.
Yep, I knew you were going to go there.
And hand the bag. If not, you call Mr. Biden up in the office, ask for a presidential bailout. How they bail out many companies on when they're about to go broke. Just like we bailed out a GM back when they've been bankrupt. Just give them a bailout. I'm just saying, this is really good for baseball. I feel like the AL East is going to be must-watch television. It's like whenever the AL East teams are going to play, like regardless, Toronto didn't do much. And I mean, Boston, yeah, they got a little worse and a little good. At the same time, they're still going to be palatable to watch. It's just Boston is what I guarantee you. It's that, it's that chicken breast without seasoning. That's what you're going to be watching. Like, it's good for you. And it's good, but at the same time, it's like I need a little bit more spice in my life,
Yeah, I mean, but you have the Blue Jays, who I know you said that they didn't do a ton of offseason, but I still think they're going to be really good. They have a lot of talent on that roster. Vlad is actually the cover of MLB The Show this year.
That's nuts.
That's kind of I don't know. I don't agree with that.
MLB The Show is just going for clicks. She's going for the clickbaiters. Like they had Jazz last year. Yeah. Hey, next year we're gonna have Snellzilla on the cover.
And then you have obviously the Yankees, who are going to be good, and the Orioles, and the Rays, who we'll see. They have some issues going on with that organization right now with their star player. We'll see how they turn out this year. But you have three key players in the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Yankees, who I think all three of those teams have World Series aspirations. So it's going to be a really fun division to watch. And we can talk about the trade that happened on Thursday, the day after the Orioles got sold to the new group.
Let me ask you the question. Where were you when the trade happened?
I was at home working, I believe.
It was Thursday night at around 6 o'clock, 6:30 your time.
Yeah.
Actually, no, bullshit. Sorry. It was around 6:30, 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah, I think, okay. I was at home. I don't think I was working. I think I was eating dinner. Yeah, I don't know why. It doesn't matter where I was when it happened.
Because I literally was pulling up to my apartment complex and I was about to go into the car garage where my signal goes dead. And I almost put my car through the elevator because I saw the trade and I was like, we have been saying this for how many months? I wish you freaking clipped it and put it up because we have been saying it's like the biggest non-secret. I know that's a double negative, but it's just like out of all the MLB contending teams, who did not have an ace? The Orioles. Who had the biggest war chest of prospects?
Baltimore, of course.
Baltimore. So it was just a match made in heaven. It was just it was such a beautiful, relationship. It's like Bonnie and Clyde,
I know, and I wish I did post a clip on our Instagram page because I had it saved, clipped up, and I just didn't post it from like last July when you were calling for the Orioles to trade for Corbin Burns. The official trade, the Orioles get Corbin Burns, like I said, star right-handed pitcher. The Brewers get left-handed pitcher D.L. Hall, former top prospect, Joey Ortiz, who's a top 100 prospect and an infielder, and a 2024 competitive balance round A pick, which is going to be number 34 overall in next year's MLB draft.
Wait, time out. How do they get that pick? Because I'm confused now. Who did they lose in free agency?
That is the pick that the Brewers would have lost. Oh, sorry. No, I misspoke. Baltimore. I don't know who Baltimore lost in free agency that got that they were able to pick up.
Because Flaherty, because for listeners, these competitive balance picks are picks that go to the respective teams when they lose like a star player. For example, if the Yankees would have signed Shohei Ohtani, who signed his Shohei didn't sign his qualifying offer, right?
No.
It goes to players that sign their qualifying offers and that are a certain X amount. I don't know what's the metric, but you sign them, and it's going to basically give a draft pick to the team that lost that player at the end of the first round. And it's basically done just to keep, parity in the league.
It's to help out these small market teams that can't afford to pay the big guys. Like, for example, the Brewers would have gotten a competitive balance pick had they lost Burns in free agency after next season, because he only has 1 year left on his deal until he's a free agent after next season. So this is a bit of a rental for the Orioles. Considering, Burns is represented by Scott Boras, you would expect him to test free agency next offseason.
You mean he's going to be he's going to be at home and wherever he lives, Arizona or Florida, till about March, till he shows up to spring training.
Probably. He'll probably be unsigned at this point next year. Yeah. So but he is, it might only be for one season, but he is an absolute workhorse. And he's kind of one of those guys. You know how we talk about like those, I don't know what the number is. Maybe we can create a list of like 10 to 15 guys that are frontline starters, the elite of the elite, that can actually make a difference, in your rotation as the number one guy. Just to break down some stats, since among qualified starters since 2020, starting pitchers, he's second in Fangraphs WAR, 17.9, fifth in ERA, 2.86, third in FIP, 2.84, fielding independent pitching, fifth in innings pitched, 622.1, and seventh in strikeout rate, 11.06 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is one of these game-changing pitchers, and he is going to be slotted into a rotation with Kyle Bradish, John Means coming back next year, Grayson Rodriguez, who started out rocky as a rookie last year but finished the season really strong. He makes this rotation kind of go from middle of the pack to top 5 to 10 rotations in the league. And we're going to have to start talking about this rotation as a serious threat to, alongside their young talent to help carry this team to what they want in that's the title.
Yeah. And I just put up a stat for you to read. Casuals don't know who Kyle Bradish is and Grayson Rodriguez. People know Grayson because he has the pedigree of being one of their top guys. But in Kyle Bradish's final 19 starts of the 2023 season, he had a 2.18 ERA. 2.18 ERA, and Grayson in his final 12 had a 2.26 in his final 12. So you already got you got your front three for the playoffs right there. You're putting out Corbin as your 1, Grayson as your 2, and Bradish as your 3. And for me, like, I understand, and it's a rental move, it's a win now move, but like the return wasn't even that bad. They gave up DL Hall, and DL Hall's been up. He's been up into the system in the majors, and Joey Ortiz. He's basically blocked because they have so many infielders in Baltimore. So it's really a very negligible return for Baltimore, 1, and 2. Baltimore's right now, their farm is just producing guys at such a talent. And from a Brewers perspective, you want to say like, oh, the return isn't that great. Well, you do have to remember he is a Boris client. There's a lot of innings on that arm. And then, there's always been injury concerns that happened last year, 3 and 4. You have to – this is like your final point to cash in, because if you don't cash in now and say he flames out, like to start the first year, sort of like Dylan Cease, but in different scenarios, you've completely tanked your return, and there's, you're not going to pay him the money. He's going to take a big deal just to go. So that's kind of the whole deal. If for our casual listeners that don't know who Corbin Burnes is, this move reminds me of Matthew Stafford getting traded to the Rams. Not in that Matthew Stafford was always regarded as a top 8, top 10 quarterback in the league, but never got the recognition because of where he played, and he doesn't have like that name value. So that's what kind of like that, because when you think about top pitchers in MLB, you're thinking Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, DeGrom, Shohei Ohtani, Clayton Kershaw, even though he's washed. Not in that way, but I mean, he's not Clayton Kershaw like Cy Young Kershaw.
Yeah.
That's 6. And then who else am I missing? That's pretty much most of the guys that you'd have.
Strider.
Yeah, but I don't think casuals.
Reed.
Yeah, but they're like not guys like their first name. They're not on like a basis of like, oh yeah, that dude's a killer. But nah. But those are the kind of like 7 to 8 guys, and you don't think about, oh, Corbin Burnes. He's kind of like the 9th, 10th guy who is better than half that list. But he's been pitching in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee baseball is just boring to watch. Just keeping the book, like it's boring. It's boring. But like I said, good return. If there's a team to fix DL Hall with his Commanders, it's them, because they do a great job. And, doing that, redoing like developing pitchers and developing guys. So I'm pretty excited for what's going on. And, the Brewers historically are a very good drafting team. They know how to draft and deeper in. Like, so like I said, great teams by both teams. And if Baltimore loses him, it's not that big of a deal. They'll get a competitive balance pick behind it, and they'll retool, and they'll be able to pay somebody cheaper. And hopefully that Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez continue the upward trajectory. So boom, they get the keys of the car.
Yeah. And I think like the big thing for Milwaukee is they weren't going to re-sign him next offseason. He was going to go.
He's gone.
He's gone.
The timeline doesn't fit. It's just like the timeline's over. I think that their last opening to win in that timeline was 2 years ago when they lost to the Dodgers, and that timeline essentially shut. The Dodgers are in Atlanta, and it's just like as they were currently constructed, they were built on pitching first. Corbin's a free agent. Woodruff's pretty much hurt right now. He's
gone.
I know he's gone.
They non-tendered him.
Yeah, he's gone. That's what I'm saying. They're not re-signing him. He's gone. And then their problem has been hitting. And since they're a small market, they pretty much have so much money into Yelich, which now Yelich is stuck there, and he's not the same guy after injuries, after that kneecap injury he had. Willie Adames is next to go. And then they just have a bunch of just who he played for guys.
Devin Williams, they'll probably move him eventually too.
But but the thing about it is, I think you can get more of a return for Devin. But the problem is like, what contender needs a closer? And the only contender that needs a closer is the Dodgers. And if there's a team to do it, it would be the Dodgers. The late innings, because right now they're rumored with Kenley Jansen reunion, and Kenley Jansen is approaching Craig Kimbrell territory.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the Brewers, they also traded Hader a couple of years ago. So I think it makes sense to move Burns now. If you move him at the deadline, the return's going to be even less than it is right now. And DL Hall, I mean, he's a former first-round pick, top 100 guy, never really panned out in Baltimore, but he's still super young. They used him in the pen last year because he struggled with command. But I expect him to probably assume a starting role with the Brewers next season, and I think they can develop him into a quality starter. And I'm not going to write him off just yet. And then Ortiz, like you said, totally blocked in the infield. They have too many guys: Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday coming up this year. There's no spot for him.
There's never going to be a spot for him unless something happens.
Yeah, and he's a top 100 guy. And he plays good defense, which they love in Milwaukee. They're defensive.
Oh God.
Better than average strikeout rate at the plate. So he's going to play third with Willie Adames at short this year for I keep saying Baltimore for Milwaukee. And then second base, they're going to have Bryce Terang at second base. So when Adames leaves after this year, I think it's going to come down to Terang or Ortiz at shortstop, and it's actually not a bad infield that they have set up this year.
And then they have Reese. They have Reese 2 years, 34, but he's a Boris client. Knowing him, he'll be back on the market next year, and we'll be talking about where he's going after he hits 30 or 40 bombs out, hitting in the ballpark. Because he's going to absolutely destroy those Central Parks. He's going to love hitting in Chicago, Cincy. Pittsburgh's not that bad of a park to hit in either. And, I mean, St. Louis is kind of okay. And Milwaukee, Milwaukee is a hard park to hit bombs at.
I expect him to have a good season, though. Didn't play at all last year because of that ACL. I think he's going to be rejuvenated for the Brewers. And actually, I kind of like what the Brewers have done this offseason, at least offensively. But we'll see.
They'll be 81 and 81. They won't be like awful, but I mean, there's a lot of things in transition out there. They'll be 81 and 81.
Yeah. We'll see. You got anything else on this trade before I move on to the next wheel spin?
Nah. Let's get it. We got to spin these wheels faster. We spent like 20 minutes talking about this.
Well, that was the big news. I'm spinning the wheel now. Again, I don't know if you can hear it, but boom. All right.
Dollar General wheel.
Dollar General. Jorge Polanco, Seattle Mariners and Minnesota Twins trade.
This trade. I'll just go through it.
Big news. Big news.
I don't think it's big news. If you're Joe Seaman, you love this, but I don't. Seattle got Jorge Polanco. He has a club option at 25. Then he becomes a free agent. He's the longest tenured Twin. Minnesota got Anthony Discaflani, aka call him Disco. Justin Tapa, a reliever, decent reliever. Gabriel Gonzalez, top 100 outfielder in the prospect pipeline for 2024, and Darren Brown. So,
and they got $8 million, and they also got $8 million in that trade. That's not nothing.
But it's just like you're gonna reinvest it, but it's just like, okay. What side do you want to touch on first?
I think Minnesota. I think Minnesota is more of an interesting haul than
Minnesota. I mean, you're pretty much putting band-aids with this trade. Discafani pretty much takes one of their starter spots for Kent Maeda. Justin Tapa is a decent, reliable bullpen arm that they can probably flip at the deadline because they're not going anywhere. And
wow.
And then
out on the Twins this year?
Nah, I'm not buying Twin stock. They didn't do anything.
Wow.
They got Carlos. They signed Carlos Santana, but signing Carlos Santana is kind of like, it's not a victory cigar. That's kind of a cigar you're smoking because you know you're going to be a mid-level team, and you're kind of like, oh, if we're good, great. We have Carlos Santana. Like, he's good enough to be a playoff starter, but it's like, oh, if we're not good, oh, cool, we have Carlos Santana. He could probably give us some prospects back.
Well, it's a bad division. It's a bad division.
It's a bad division.
If they get hot, if they win 90 games, they can make the playoffs. The biggest thing for them, and the reason they're not making any moves this offseason, is because they don't have a broadcast rights deal for.
They're not winning. They're not winning that division. Let's stop. Let's stop putting that into the minds of Twins fans. They're not winning.
Well, we don't need to step on our previews, which are still like a month or two away. But
yeah, but I'm just saying they're not winning that division. They're not division. If you've listened to the podcast, you know who I am riding on for this division this year.
I know who you are, and I'm not gonna say it again. They gotta listen to the.
The 313 is what we're riding with this year. But from a Seattle perspective, like Minnesota, okay. You know, you've got a lot of infielders. Again, you have Edward Julian, who's not that bad. Royce Lewis. I mean, Royce Lewis is kind of an enigma of a bat, in my opinion. He's kind of like one of those like spark bats. Like, he's good, but he's one of those bats that when he's on, he kind of gets the whole lineup going. He's like an energy type guy.
We saw that in the playoffs last year.
Correa, we all know who he is, and then Brooksley, who I personally am a fan of. So there's not a lot of space for Polanco. My thing is, like, Seattle, what is Seattle doing? Like, Seattle loves these, like, above average to, like, good bats. Like, they love them some Eugenio Suarez. Like, they love these guys that have, like, 2 or 3 good seasons and then show some sort of, like, decline or just some sort of just, like, middling. It's crazy. It's like you have Julio Rodriguez and you're ruining his prime years. Because what protection are you putting next to him?
But what did you expect them to do? Like, they were running out Colton Wong last year, who was struggling big time.
At second base?
Yes.
If I was Seattle, I would have called up and got Rhys Hoskins to give him that same deal that they got from what's his name? That he got from Milwaukee and put him at first base. They don't have anybody at first base. They have Ty France. Ty France can play second, and Ty France wasn't even that good last year. Ty came back to earth.
Yeah, but I'm saying at second. They had Colton Wong last year.
You played Ty France.
Ty France at second base?
He can play it. Or you can literally – there's so many better options at second base than getting Jorge Polanco. For what they're doing, there's so many better options. You could have gotten Whit Merrifield, who's not that bad.
That's kind of like a classic. There's more guys that are open in free that look better in free agency. But I think this is a good trade for both sides, in my opinion.
I don't like it for Seattle. I'm just saying, what would you rather have, Whit Merrifield from a Seattle perspective, Whit Merrifield or Polanco?
I mean, Whit Merrifield's been falling off the past few seasons.
Polanco,
he battled injuries last year. He only played 80 games, but he's been one of when playing Minnesota's more consistent bats. He's been with them since 2014. 269 average in his career. He's not going to hit a lot of home runs, although he did hit 33 in 2021. That was his career high. An all-star in 2019. Like, he's a quality bat. 335 OBP last year.
He reeks.
115 OPS plus, which is above league average. Like, he's not bad.
I know he's not bad, but he reeks Eugenio Suarez to me.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. He reeks Eugenio Suarez. Go look at Eugenio Suarez's player charts when he was with Cincy before he got dealt. Eugenio Suarez was one of the top 7 to 8 third basemen in Major League Baseball. He was on bad Reds teams, but the dude was just rake. And then he goes to Seattle and just absolutely starts sucking because it happens. And it's just like my thing from Seattle is just like, what are you doing? Like, you've pretty much nuked your farm. They nuked their farm for Castillo. They really did nuke their farm.
They nuked their farm for him,
which is great. But at the same time, let's be honest. Looking back at it, revisionist history, it was down to Seattle and New York. And from what I heard was that the Yankees package was not good enough. And Cincinnati's not a team that Cincinnati's a team that would hold him. You know, you hold him and you do that. So it's just like you could have easily signed a pitcher in free agency because the contract that Castillo got is like top paid. You could have easily gotten somebody in free agency. They got so desperate, and this is one of the things I understand, and it happens. Teams get freaking desperate because they want to make the playoffs. They haven't seen winning baseball in such a long time that they just go do these brash moves, and they pretty much nuke their plan. So now it's kind of like they're pretty much looking for diamonds and bargain binning to put a lineup around Julio, because right now they're looking at Julio, Mitch, Polanco, Austin Nola is the catcher, right?
Haniger. They got Haniger.
I said Haniger.
The catcher is Cal Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh 4. They have Ty France 5. Who's shortstop? J.P. Crawford, who's a defensive guy. So it's just like that offense is just not. I am not fearful of them. Their pitching is great. Their pitching is ridiculous. You're going to go in a playoff series with Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, and they have Brian Wu and the other guy. Kirby. Yeah, they have probably top 5 in the game right now of the AL rotation. But the thing is, it's like they gave up Seawald for peanuts.
It feels like they're. It feels like they're the American League version of the Brewers. Last year's Brewers.
I can buy that, and I would hate that because then it's inevitable. Julio's going to move on. It's inevitable. We can clip it in a couple of years, and we'll be looking back at Julio's going to get traded to some team like Texas or go to the big market teams in New York.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you don't like it for the
I don't. And for the Twins, it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of in a tough spot. You got to move on from them, and it's just like you're cutting costs.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they got $8 million back to reinvest into the club this year. I think they will.
Let's reinvest. What are we going to reinvest on? Donovan Solano, hey, Carlos Santana. Yeah, let's do that. Reinvest into Carlos Santana.
When you're a small market team, the options are not you're not going to be able to go out and spend $200 million on Cody Bellinger. You got to work around the edges.
Put the $8 million into freaking scouting department. Go build yourself a good scouting department and build yourself a Rays-esque department of development. That's just.
Well, I think they do. I mean, they have a good farm system and they're developing a lot of guys that are coming up.
Minnesota?
Yeah,
I think they should, and they do. But I just think at this point, it's just like if you're gonna do that, just nuke the season. Just go ahead and freaking nuke it.
Why would you do that when the division is wide open?
Because they're not going anywhere. I would rather just nuke it now, get a higher draft pick, and do it. Get rid of Brian Buxton. Get rid of Correa. Get value back for them now, because you're not going anywhere.
Okay, so you're not going anywhere with the core. You're saying.
Would you rather be mediocre right now? And because that's what they are. They're mediocre.
Well, I think, and we're going to see this a lot more with teams. They saw that the Diamondbacks made the World Series last year when they were pretty much mediocre all year, and they see that all we have to do is get into the playoffs, and we have a chance to make the World Series. The Phillies were in the wild card in 2022 and made the World Series. The Diamondbacks, same thing this year. So. I don't know. The Twins probably won't make the World Series considering they've lost so much from their starting rotation. Sonny Gray, Kenta Maeda. They lost Pagan in the pen. They lost. Those are the main guys. And they just lost Polanco, but they got a return for him. Like they're probably not going to make the World Series, but the ownership is and the front office is probably convincing themselves that they have a chance at making the World Series next year. I think that's what they're thinking.
Just nuke the freaking system. and just wait for next year's free agent class. Because if you start nuke the system now, you get some fringe level MLB talent that needs seasoning. You build a little core up. Next year's free agency class is going to be berserk.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Have you seen next year's free agent class?
No.
Oh man, I'm telling you right now, it's you. Garrett Cole has an opt out. Scherzer, Burns, Wheeler, Fried, Bieber, Bueller, Robbie Ray opt out. Soto, Bregman, Altuve, Gleiber, Goldschmidt, Pete, Hoskins.
Okay. Well, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous.
It's going to be ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. Just
Verlander, Scherzer again, Bueller, Gleyber Torres, Shane Bieber. You already said Clay Holmes, Max Kepler. Yeah, it's a loaded free agent class. You're right. All right, let's move on to the next wheel spin. Again, the Dollar General wheel of baseball. All right, stop. Please stop. Yeah, I think you just deafened the listeners' ears. Moves we like and moves we don't like. We're each going to list one move recently that happened that we like.
Recently?
We don't like. Yeah, since the last podcast.
Okay. I was thinking like in general. I didn't think it was, I was thinking in totality.
Okay. Well, what was you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
Move that I like. This one happened about a week ago. Was Mr. Hector Neris. He signed a 1-year, $9 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. Comes with a $9 million club option for the 2025 season, and invests into a player option for 2025 if Neris makes at least 60 appearances for the Cubs this year. Neris is coming off, the best season of his decade-long MLB career in Houston. He posted a 1.71 ERA over 68.1 innings pitched, excellent 28.2% strikeout rate, and some of the the best soft contact numbers of any pitcher in baseball. He's a little bit older, so this probably why he only went for a 1-year, $9 million deal. The fastball velo did drop to 93 miles an hour in 2023 versus 24.3 in the last 9 seasons. He also walks a lot of guys, 11.4% walk rate, which is the third time in the last 4 seasons his walk rate sat within the bottom 23rd percentile of all pitchers. 90% strand rate, which is great if you're a reliever, and a 219 batted ball in play as well. So stats are there, does walk a lot of guys. But I think for the Cubs, and this is why I like to move for the Cubs, is he was a leader for the Astros, locker room guy, good reliever. The Cubs had a weaker bullpen last year. Now you slot him back there with Adalbert Alzolay as their closer, and they also traded for Yency Almonte from the Dodgers. Slot him in there. He's going to be a key cog in their pen this year. And, if he pitches well, he'll earn the right to pitch for the Cubs again in 2025 with that vesting option. So, he turns 35 in June, a little bit older in terms of, pitching wise, but the Cubs payroll currently $196.3 million. They still have some room to go before they hit the $237 million luxury tax threshold. I like this move because the Cubs bolstered their pen, and it was a little bit weak. It was kind of one of their weaknesses last season. So I think this move makes a lot of sense for the Cubs, and I think it'll work. I think it'll work for them. Also, the Cubs brought back our guy Carl Edwards
Jr. on a minor league deal. I gotta get
major league deal.
Oh man, I love me what the Ricketts are doing, man. I gotta get up there to Wrigley to watch him pitch, man. I think that would make my year, just meeting Carl Edwards Jr. He was electric. World Series champion.
I think we saw him in 2016, right? Labor Day 2016,
yep.
Right?
Versus the Giants, that game that we left early because we were like, bro, we got to get back to Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was late. It was extra game. Anyway, all right.
My favorite so far, sorry guys, I've been popping Altoids the whole time. I freaking love mints. Gotta pop these in.
Okay.
My favorite move is Colt Keith signed a 6-year, $28 million deal.
Interesting.
With the Tigers. I enjoy this deal because the Tigers are actually now doing smart things. They actually now have a nucleus, a young core that I think is enviable in all MLB. It's just a matter of time. The Detroit Tigers are my Arizona Diamondbacks. William, and if you guys have been listening for a while, William, ever since we started doing the podcast, was always on, bro, Arizona. I'm like, bro, they're shit. Like, what are you talking about? They're awful. They're awful. And you're like, no, just watch Arizona. They're cooking something. Just give patience. They're cooking. And lo and behold, 2 years later, look what we got now. But now the Tigers actually have a nucleus of Colt Keith at third. You got Javi down the middle.
Ooh, baby, Javier Baez. Let's go.
Who you don't know what the hell is going to come out of him. He's the Russell Westbrook of baseball.
Yes.
Torkelson went really under the radar in the second half. If you were watching it, and like there was some very promising signs, like he might not be a guy that'll hit for average, but he's going to be a 30, 40 home run guy if he puts it all together. I would expect him to break out real soon. So you got your corners, your shortstop, second baseman really doesn't matter.
Well, they can play Colt Keith at second, and then they got Zach McKinstry at third as well. They can play him there.
I don't think McKinstry's listed as an outfielder here.
Oh,
either or, McKinstry. Okay, either or, McKinstry's solid. I don't think McKinstry's a starter on a playoff contender. He's more of a utility guy. First bat, second bat off the bench to play some defense and hit. And then the outfield, they picked up Mark Canha.
Yep.
He's decent.
He's solid.
Solid. Riley Green, who also was very good at the end of the year. And
I think Riley Green's going to break out next year.
And you have Akil Baddoo. So, like, this Colt Keith move is like they're setting the foundations of what's to come in Detroit. Y'all need to get ready because it is going to be a year. And Colt Keith, top prospect, thank God they got rid of like the old regime and the old management because they probably would have nuked his swing like they nuked everybody's swing 2 years ago. He played in the futures. He played the futures last year, and he was in Toledo last year, and he hit 287 with 13 home runs and 51 RBIs.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
I mean, he's a top 22 prospect in all of baseball.
And he has a good pedigree. He played baseball in Arizona, high school baseball. Then he went to go play in Biloxi. You know how difficult it is to play high school baseball in Mississippi. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Mississippi. So the Bulldogs are there. I'm saying great move. I might even sprinkle some money on him for a Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
Because what about options? There's no other options in the AL.
Well, there's one big option in the American League.
Who?
A guy by the name of Mr. Jackson Holiday.
Oh yeah, but is he going to be there?
Yeah, I think so.
You think?
Evan Carter is still technically a rookie. Wyatt Langford from the Rangers.
I think Colt Keith is going to be. Yeah, it's
for what it's worth. It's not crazy because DraftKings has him at plus 1,000 right now to win the Rookie of the Year award, which is I think he's like 7th in odds right now. So that's not that crazy.
There's not a lot of pressure up there in Detroit either. I'm putting them up on a pedestal, but in reality, there's not much there. Like pressure.
Can you guess who's the favorite in the National League to win the Rookie of the Year next year?
Oh, easy. Y squared.
Yep, Yamamoto. Yeah.
Y squared.
You know who's second? Jung-Ho Lee from the Giants.
Yeah. But going back to the point, I love the move. I think it's going to be a really good looking move once we look back at it. Detroit's cooking something. I'm telling you.
I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
And like the future is bright. They got the mini Harper.
Max Clark. I can't wait for him to eventually make it up.
You love him, but you're just talking, and I hope you guys clip this. William loves Max Harper. Pause. I can't wait for when Max Harper gets to the league and does something, and he's like, "Oh, what the hell? This dude's like," and starts just absolutely crapping on him.
I just think he's going to be good for the sport because I think he does.
He's going to be annoying.
Huh?
He's going to be annoying.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just think he's good with his social media following. He's going to bring a lot of eyes to the sport, hopefully. And He's like the next Bryce Harper. I think that's a good comp.
He's like Neil Mope. He's gonna be Mope Madison-esque on Instagram.
He's not like Neil Mope.
Yeah, he's not a shitter, but like he's bringing, the thing that baseball doesn't have right now is like NBA player workouts in the off-season open gym.
He's bringing that.
Everybody in like basketball is like, you'll have Devin Booker working out with freaking Jalen Brunson in the same gym in Miami that every kid goes to, or they'll go to the same little gym in New York City on like a high rise and go play pickup, and they all have the same skills trainer, and they'll take the video of them shooting jump shots and sweating shirtless, take the shirts off, and just go with the little baby in the background, or
post it to IG. Yep.
It posted to IG, created. It's same thing with NFL, where they're all working out on a field, catching balls at full speed and just doing workout vids. Like Max Clark's Instagram is littered with him. Like the funniest thing was, I think it was like the other night. I was up at like 2, 3 in the morning this week. I couldn't fall asleep, and I was just scrolling through Instagram, and it came up on my Explore page. And it was Max Clark, pulling up in a white and black Stingray Corvette. Okay, he's driving it in the winter in Indiana to some warehouse. They open up the gates of the warehouse, and he actually goes and trains and hits balls. And he's there from like 8 a.m. to like 10 o'clock. And then there's a drone shot of him just speeding off in the Stingray.
My gosh. I gotta go check it out.
I gotta send you that. Yeah.
All right. What about, I'll get my move that I don't like. And it's a quick one, but the Marlins arbitration with Jazz Chisholm. The Marlins won the case against their star player, Mr. Chisholm Jr. The outfielder will now make $2.6 million this year instead of the $2.9 million that he wanted. Him and his reps were seeking. The case was settled on his 26th birthday as well. I just think it's a tough look whenever this happens. These cheaper teams basically not willing to spend $300,000 extra to pay their star player for the next season. And I just think it's got to be awkward working for continuing to work for the Marlins after they basically are giving you all of these reasons why you're not worth that extra $300,000. Sure, Jazz struggled with injury last year. I still think he's one of the most fun players to watch in the league when he's healthy. And he did an impressive job transitioning from second base to center field last year. I know we knocked the move when it happened, and it was rough at first, but he did a really good job throughout the course of the season adjusting to life in center field, and he turned out to be a pretty solid center fielder for them last season. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of a loss for the Marlins to not pay him that extra $300K and kind of take care of your star guy in arbitration. 2.9 might have been a little bit high. Industry experts were expecting him to make about 2.8 next year, but I don't know. For these, $1 billion organizations, like what difference does it make? Pay him a little extra.
My move that I personally hate, I'm saying Tim Anderson hasn't been signed.
I kind of knew you were gonna say that one, yeah.
But you want to hear the new rumor that came out the other day? I just read. Sure. Tim Anderson on Fine said that Tim Anderson couldn't end up in the Marlins. If that happens,
that would be so fun. Where would he play? Shortstop then?
I don't care. I would be at every game. I would get a jersey. I don't have many MLB jerseys. I would get a jersey. I would be the biggest Marlins fan ever. I'd be twerking on the stadium. I would be like, let's go. Like, you'd be like, why Tim Anderson? That isn't my guy. But he's unsigned. But that's not the one I'm going to pick. We always talk about Tim. Whenever Tim gets signed, it's going to be an emergency MLB podcast by me talking about how Tim Anderson makes you a World Series contender. But I just hate Aaron Hicks going to the Angels.
Oh, boy. The Yankees have to pay a lot of that deal, by the way. I think almost all of it.
I don't have much to say. I think if you know, you know. The Angels are going nowhere, and Aaron Hicks is just the epitome of I'm not doing anything.
That was like peak Angels move.
Peak Angels move. So
yeah, didn't love that one.
What are the Angels doing? Like, what? Let's talk about it. What are the Angels actually going for next year? I mean, Mike Trout's. I haven't seen him at an Eagles game because the Eagles are out. So I bet you he's hurt. So I bet you he's. I heard he's. Him and Tiger are building a golf course. I think in Jersey, and they're calling it Trout National.
Really? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
Trout National. Look it
You
up.
want to hear their projected lineup on Fangraphs right now?
I don't want to. I would literally. I want to save my ears and my head because I feel like I could field. I feel like one of these teams that I'm going to go see tonight fields a better lineup than that.
So that's a no. You don't want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So right now, Fangraphs has their projected lineup. This is against right-handed pitchers. So second base leading off, Luis Rengifo. Second in center field, Mike Trout. Third DHing, Brandon Drury. Fourth and third base, Anthony Rendon. Fifth left field, Taylor Ward. Sixth right field, Mickey Moniak. Seventh catcher, Logan O'Hoppe, back healthy this year. First base and hitting eighth, Logan Chanel. And ninth, shortstop, Zach Neto, with Joe Adell and Aaron Hicks coming off the bench.
But we pretty much said 6 through 9 is the most promising part of the lineup.
You think? Yeah. I mean, yeah, with
Neto, Chanel.
Yeah.
No, Ohio. That's the only thing promising going for them. And then if they just nuke it with Trout, like they could be cooking. But of course they won't do that.
I don't know why. How many years? I'm just gonna look up how many. Oh, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's got 7 more years of control.
Is he?
Like Trout does.
Can I ask you a hot take before we finish on a couple last topics?
Yes.
You can call me crazy, but do you think he's declining?
Last year he did.
But there's injuries.
Yeah.
But like, is the decline coming? That's what I'm saying.
I think this is going to be a big season for him.
That's what I'm saying. You have to sell now.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on him this year, I think.
This is not Wall Street bets, not Diamond Hands.
I don't know what that means.
Diamond Hands is holding. You haven't seen the movie and the whole documentary?
No.
It was actually it's a good watch. It's on Netflix for you listeners. It's called Dirty Money. Dumb Money. It's with Seth Rogen and I think that's the only one I can remember right now. But it's pretty much about how this one guy, the whole Wall Street Bets Reddit page, pretty much made a whole lot of money off the GameStop shorts.
Oh yeah.
And AMC, yeah, so
yeah, I've seen that. Or I haven't seen it, but I've seen like the previews. All right, we got three more spins. And it's going. I don't know if you can hear it, but it lands on Theo Epstein back to Boston, not with the Red Sox organization specifically, but with their ownership group, Fenway Sports Group, FSG. He's joining them as a part owner and senior advisor 20 years after he delivered the Red Sox a World Series title. The size of his ownership and his ownership stake and investment were not announced. He is leaving the front office of MLB. He was a central figure in the development of their new playing rules and kind of the pitch clock this past season. Did a good job there. Obviously helped the Cubs win a World Series in 2016. Comes at a needed time, I think, for Red Sox fans, considering they haven't done anything this offseason. The ownership group said they'd like to lower payroll again this year. They finished last in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Times are bad if you're a Red Sox fan. They traded away Mookie Betts, obviously. It was announced that he's not going to have a say in roster decisions. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it, but at least he's back in the fold if you're a Red Sox fan. It's got to be good.
That's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, it's a glimmer of hope. Exactly.
I mean, Red Sox, FSG did have a part in the Mookie trade, if you think about it. Like, they wanted the lower payroll. So who knows, man? I feel like baseball isn't okay with the Red Sox being like they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what FSG is doing to that team, but it's truly sad what they're doing to that team. Like, yeah, they've built up a nucleus, but we need more seasoning on that chicken.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are kind of one of those teams where baseball is better and more interesting when they're good.
It's like college football. College football isn't good if Texas and Michigan aren't good.
I think USC, you can put them into that mix as well.
Even Miami too.
Yeah, they haven't been good in so long though.
Yeah, man, it's truly tragic down here. Everybody's clamoring. Well, not everybody, because I don't see Miami fans walking around that much.
Yeah,
They hide. They hide. They have a they're chameleon. You know, they're like those snakes that have scales. And then, oh, boom, we're definitely some Hurricane fans. I'm like, when did you become a Hurricane fan? Oh, no, those days with Sean Taylor, Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed in the 2000s. And I'm like,
yeah, when they won the national championship, of
I
course.
was like, yeah, but were you alive, dog? Spin that wheel again.
All right, spinning that wheel. Second to last time here. Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts was in the news the past couple of days for some interesting comments that he had at Dodger Fest when he was talking to Spectrum Sportsnet LA, their broadcasting team. He said, "quote Every game is going to be the other team's World Series."
You know what that
Got an
sounds
issue with
like?
that?
You know what that sounds like?
What?
When LeBron says, not one, not two, not three,
You think
not
it sounds
four.
like that?
It does.
Wow. Okay. I
I,
think I think it's bulletin board material for a lot of other teams.
I just think it's so stupid. I just think like, you already have enough heat. Why are you going to bring up more heat to yourself?
But I also don't. Yeah, that's. I can see both sides. I understand that part. I also
Like,
don't.
what have the Dodgers done to accomplish to be put as the champions, other than just splashing a boatload of money to players? What have they done to deserve that? There's their World Series. Last time I checked, they got eliminated by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the divisional round, and the year before that, they got eliminated before they even got they didn't make the World Series. For a team that's carrying Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias, and you don't get to the World Series, bro,
Yeah.
you haven't accomplished anything. You literally
Obviously they won in 2020. I know it was the COVID shortened season. He's not necessarily wrong. They're going to be the best team next year, probably. I understand.
What have they done to accomplish being the best team? What have they done to deserve that title?
On the field, well, they signed Ohtani. They signed the best player in the game.
They signed it, but we don't even know how he's going to look.
I know.
It's like it's not. This is not something like, oh, if it's not like 2 + 2 + 2 is 6, and if I had a 1, it'll be a 7 for sure. It's not like, oh, we add Ohtani. Yeah, we expect to, but it's not guaranteed. Oh, we add Ohtani, we're going to be ridiculous. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm just saying they have done nothing to deserve this, and they're already saying, "Oh, we're going to be the team's World Series." I'm like, dog, you better actually hit. Because last time I checked in the playoffs, there was like a missing poster. Like the police were looking out for you, the Dodger fans were looking out for you. You went missing when your team wanted most. So before we start talking, I'm a fan of yours, Mookie, and if you listen to the podcast, you probably don't. But if you're listening, like, I would just shut up and just go hit. And I'm not saying that in that sense, because like you got to show up in those moments.
Yeah, he was second in MVP voting in the for last year.
I was Mookie. You should be the MVP. I was on #1 Mookie defender. He was my defense league last year. But the fact of the matter is, you're already going to be the best. You're building an Astros sort of aura. And I don't think they have those personalities on that team. Like the Astros loved being the villain. Like they actually were like, cool, we'll be it. And they actually didn't talk. They were like, all right, they're going to put us like this. We're going to go and ball.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, well, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting season for the Dodgers for sure. And then the last spin of the wheel, and we end the podcast with this kind of sad note. Definitely sad. Jackie Robinson statue. Firefighters found burned pieces of a bronze Jackie Robinson statue in a trash can Tuesday, 5 days after the statue was cut off its base and stolen from a Wichita, Kansas park. The fire department in Wichita there said that the statue probably won't be salvageable. And, the statue was installed at a baseball complex inside Wichita's McAdams Park in 2021, which is by the League 42 Foundation, a youth baseball league in Wichita named for Robinson's number. good news is Bob Lutz, the founder and CEO of League 42, said that a brand new statue will be made that looks exactly like the old one, and there's a GoFundMe campaign to replace the statue. And they've raised, as of Tuesday, so almost a week ago now, $20K of its $100K goal. But the firefighters are saying maybe people cut this down to sell the bronze, for salvage the bronze and sell it off. The motive remains unknown. They're doing an investigation there, but kind of just some sad news, and kind of gives us an excuse to just talk about how great Jackie Robinson was. Read through some of these stats, because I think Jackie Robinson, everyone talks about him breaking the color barrier, obviously deservedly so. I think people underrate just how good of a player he was. They don't talk about the player; they more talk about what he did off the field. Of course, obviously he's a historical figure and a pioneer.
He was in the military too. He was an American, a true good old American.
But I think, dude, he was a really, really good baseball player. 1949 MVP. He was a 7-time All-Star. He won Rookie of the Year. He won a batting title in 1949, the year he won MVP. Led the league in multiple stat categories throughout the course of his career. 200 stolen bases on his career. Hall of Famer, obviously. Won the 1955 World Series. Ended his career with a .313 average and 141 home runs, alongside, like I said, 200 stolen bases. He is underrated all time in terms of talent, in my opinion. He was a great player, and he did all of that while literally his life was being threatened. There's no other player. Well, there are other players that came over and broke barriers that faced the same issues, but they didn't put up numbers like Jackie Robinson did. And I think he is an underrated player of all time. That's why I wanted to bring this up. It is a sad story, but I think it gives us a reason to talk about just how good of a player he was as well.
Despicable behavior by whoever did it. Hope they get jailed up.
Yeah, it's bad. It's gross. Yeah. You got anything else? Any other notes you want to hit before we get out here today?
Spring training tomorrow. Reports next week. Valentine's Day. Spring training reports, man. I cannot wait. I will be tuned in more than ever this year.
We're going to start. We're going to be getting the reels and the Instagram posts from MLB's account of teams arriving, and you're going to start getting that feeling. You're probably going to get that itch tonight at the game.
Hey, man, I'm ready to go. I might have a dog. Pause.
A hot dog?
Yeah. Not a dog. Not that way, but you eat a dog. But, I don't know. I got to figure it out.
All right, man. Well, you got anything else before we get out?
Nah, man. You ready to go?
Yes, sir. All right. That was another fun one. The first edition of the Wheel of Baseball. Hope you guys enjoyed. We will be back next week for another MLB-related podcast. Hopefully some more moves happen, because it was quite the week with the Orioles and the Jorge Polanco trade and all of this stuff. So fun pod. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace out.